Cái này không phải
É quiser. Não, passa.
Tapi masih ada cakap diam. I gave you 4 years. How about
Ndobete meeting murukai. Nawe, don't happy.
Someone is to do with so she will learn to respect herself next time. You can tell that something to be like the video of this week.
Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're joining us from. Welcome all to this our call today on the power of your story, hosted by TB Women Global, together with the TB Women Academy. My name is Berry Lodhiambo. I work as the programs officer at TB Women Global. Thank you so much for joining in today. We had given a few minutes for most of us to join, but now the quorum is good. We can go ahead and start. Please, as you're joining, you can tell us, you can write in the chat where you are coming from, where you are joining us from, your country, and also your affiliation. Feel free for this in this session, and we welcome you all on board for mind-blowing storytelling. Thank you so much, and allow me to hand it over today to our facilitator and also the coordinator of TB Women Global. Thank you, and over.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, depending on where you're joining us from. Like Berila said, my name is Maureen Murenga. I'm the coordinator of TB Women Global, and I'm excited to have all of you here today as we will talk about the power of storytelling in TB advocacy. So storytelling is something that is not new, and storytelling is something that has been used over the years to communicate. So as we move on with this session, if you have any questions, we will ask you to note it down, and then we'll have a session of question and answer at the end of the presentation. Also, we have the chat. If you want to contribute something, or if you're asked to contribute, we can use the chat option to share our contributions. So I'm really excited about this session on storytelling because we tell stories all the time. And we, like I've written on the slide, that personal narratives transform abstract issues into human experiences. Most of the time when I've been called to share my story, it's always been around my health. And every time I'm meeting people who are making decisions around my health, I'm always making a statement that I'm here to change those graphs and lines into human experience and to give a face into the report on your desk. So let's explore how women TB survivors and other TB survivors can amplify their voices to create gender responsive TB programs that truly meet our needs. We will also ask that if you're not speaking, please mute your microphone, and then we can move quickly and save up some time for some genuine conversations.
Storytelling.
Please, if you're not speaking, mute your microphone. So we will begin by understanding gender and TB. So I will not go to the many nuances around gender, but I'll begin by saying the numbers tell a story. Data shows that while 64% of TB cases occur in males, women face unique barriers to diagnose and treat TB, and sometimes some of these barriers often go unaddressed. Last week, I visited one of the communities in Kenya. It's a bit remote. And I got that in that village, women have to seek permission from their husbands to go for treatment or for the treatment of their children. So those and many other gender-related issues make women disproportionately affected by TB. And then we are told also that we have other hidden challenges, like, for example, women with TB often juggle caregiving responsibilities while battling their illness. So my grandmother used to say that a woman should not lie down and claim they're feeling tired or sick. They should always be strong for their families. So in as much as women are expected to always show the face of braveness in sickness, people struggle, and sometimes we face heightened stigma and rejection. We've had cases of women who have been chased away from their homes because it is assumed they brought TB infection. We also know of other intersecting factors such as poverty, education access, and cultural norms that create complex barriers for women seeking TB care. We know that people who have access to education are better at seeking health services than people who have low levels of education. And so you find that in many societies, women compared to men have very low literacy levels, especially in rural regions where we haven't had much of interventions of promoting gender equality. Chepkwony, please mute your mic. So some of the elements of effective storytelling are authenticity. When you're sharing your story, make sure your story is genuine and you're sharing your experience without filtering your truth. Sometimes you go to places and you hear someone tell their stories, and then you listen to them again and it's quite different from the last time they said it. And then another time you listen to them again and it's like, is it the same person really? Sometimes you get very sensational and may feel an urge to exaggerate some of our experiences. But I think it becomes a valid tool when you share your genuine experience without filtering your truth. The second one is you have to structure your story in such a way that it has a clear beginning, it has a compelling middle, and a powerful conclusion, so that you keep your audience listening to you. There are moments when people begin talking, and sometimes they're sharing very compelling story, but you lose yourself in the middle, and you tend to see your audience going to their social media to find more interesting things to listen to. So sometimes it is important that when you're beginning a story, it is punchy with a very clear beginning, and then in the middle, make it as compelling as possible to ensure that your audience are still you're still capturing your audience, and then give it a very powerful, punchful conclusion that will keep your audience remembering your story over and over and over. And then your story, for people to stay connected, it should be emotional. Put the right emotions. For example, if you're talking about having lost a relative to TB and you're smiling about it, it gives people mixed messages. So make sure your facial expression and your tone are in line with the current message that you're passing to the people. If you're talking about healing and you're crying tears of pain, or you're talking about relief and you're crying tears of pain, or your facial expression and your emotions are not resonating with what you're doing, with what you're feeling or what you're expressing, then again, you may lose some of your listeners. So make sure your listeners feel your emotion through the specific details. For example, if you're talking about a sad story that would end in an even sadder, if there's such a word, ending, you could pause for a little while to give a suspense. So you can say we went and we were looking for medication. And in the first hospital we went to, we did not get the medication. We went to the second one. We did not get, but we were told that if we went to a hospital 4 kilometers away, they still had a few stops. We were able to get medication for, let's say, my father. And then we went to that hospital and we got the medication, and we were excited about having gotten this medication. We knew our father would get cured, but when we reached the hospital, he was gone. So you are kind of putting people in suspense, and you're engaging them, you're connecting them to that feeling, to that situation. And then when you're talking about scenarios, have a sensory language. Let people sense the feeling of how that environment was. When I was telling that story about going for the medicine 4 kilometers, I should, if I wanted to add a little bit of sensory language to it, I should have described the road to that hospital, how dusty it was, how sunny the day was, and it was so hot. And probably we did not get public transport and had to walk, and the dust was filling our lungs. So you have to describe your surrounding or the area and the feelings, so that you can again bring the person to that realistic situation. So when you combine all these elements with your story, you combine structure, authenticity, emotional connection, and sensory language, your story becomes a very powerful tool for advocacy and change. So, for example, you want to tell a story about your TB journey. So you want to craft your TB journey. You first of all start thinking about the key moments. So you identify the turning points, maybe when you are diagnosed, how you felt when you got your diagnosis of having TB, treatment decisions, when they described to you for you the kind of treatment you're going to go through. Maybe you had MDR TB, and so they're telling you, oh, you're gonna take a lot of medicine, you need food and stuff like that. They're preparing you for the treatment journey, and you have to make a decision. And then also, those are usually like the sad moments. And then another key moment would be a breakthrough moment, when you went back to the facility and they diagnosed you TB-free. Then you can also add gender challenges, highlight the barriers you faced as a woman, or family responsibility, or stigma, or dismissal by providers. You know, sometimes when we access services, we face stigma. We face family responsibilities that make you be in a very hard place, where you have to choose between taking care of someone else and taking care of your health. So explaining such is also critically important. And then the recovery path is very important. Once you have highlighted the challenges, you know, most of the time as activists and advocates, whenever we are talking, we talk about challenges, but we leave it there. We like highlighting challenges, but it will also be good in terms of using your story to change policy, to talk about how you overcame the obstacle and found your voice as an advocate. There's something that drove you, and you said, you know what, I'm not gonna stay with my story. I'm not gonna put my experience under the carpet. I'm going to use it to become an advocate. So you make that part of your journey. And then you finalize it with a call to action. When you're ending your story, you must end with clear requests for the listeners, policy changes, community support, or when you're just educating people around adherence to treatment or early access to services, you end it with a call to action. So what are the available platforms for sharing your story? The first one would be public speaking. Many a times we find ourselves in conferences or in community events, in health forums, and we are directly connecting to audiences. One thing I have learned to do is that in the event that I'm invited to an event and I'm given a topic to talk about, and it resonates a bit with my story, I always take a minute or two to share my story so that I'm able to, again, bring the human nature of it, leverage the lived experience to pass my points very clearly. So whenever you get an opportunity in a conference or in a community event or in a health forum or in a policy development space, that you directly connect with audiences who are sometimes decision makers, that is an opportunity for you to share your story. Another opportunity is the current landscape has given us media in our hands. Long time ago, it was difficult to get the traditional media. You could write to them and they had such a huge demand. But we know nowadays with digital media, you can reach thousands of audiences, including those that are making decisions within your space. So you can use Instagram, where you're using a lot of infographics, because Instagram is about photos. Then there's Twitter, there's TikTok, and even blogs for people who write. And I want to say that storytelling is not just about talking, but also you can pen your story using the four areas that we looked at in the previous slide. So you can use also blogs to reach global audiences with your messages. The beauty about digital media is that it breaks the boundaries and you can share your story far and wide beyond what you'd have imagined. And then we have the traditional media. So you can also partner with journalists for articles, interviews, documentary features about your experience. Now, when you're dealing with traditional media, you have to be very, very careful because there are moments when probably you have gone to share your TB story and the important for commodity security so that there are no stockouts and you're not developing resistance, and you're sharing a story about how you developed MDR because there were stockouts and you did not complete your treatment. And then they could tell you something like, I think this government sucks. And then you leave that story and you start talking about how the government is horrible and stuff like that. And then when they go and write a story, they will focus on that. They'll say, a TB survivor calls the government horrible. So the story is completely changed from the message you wanted to give. So when you're dealing with traditional media, stay focused. There's nothing that they always say off the records. There are moments when they tell you this is off the record. Can I ask you a personal story? If you're not comfortable with that, please don't share, because there's nothing off record with them. Usually when you've told them your story and they don't see any aha moment in your story, they would always like to divert, and they would get into more sensitive details in the pretext of off the record. So always know that everything is on record, and everything you said could be quoted elsewhere, and therefore say what you're comfortable with. And then we have TB organizations that have advocacy groups such as TB Women, TB People, Stop TB Partnership, and others that are here, represented here. And this is another opportunity to amplify your story through the established channels. And the reason we were talking about storytelling today is because we are going through very challenging times in terms of resources. And since last year, TB advocates have been advocating for increased resources for the TB response because TB was off track. So, with the current funding uncertainty, I can use that word, with the current funding uncertainty across the world, we need to have our voices heard. We need to share our stories so that these stories can inform the decisions around TB financing. So, like I said, sometimes we share our stories and then you come back and you're like, oh, why did I give so much details, or what was I doing? You know, like you kind of worried, you kind of you're not comfortable with having shared your story. So when we want to overcome stigma through storytelling, one of the 4 things that can help us is to create a community. You build networks of support and solidarity. So such as support groups. Support groups have been very effective in terms of addressing stigma. We can learn from the HIV response how support groups have helped people to accept their status and to manage how to deal with external stigma that comes to them. So having a support group is very critical, because sometimes when you share your story, it's not all the time that it will be appreciated, but it could have a backlash. And then secondly, you could use your story as a platform to end stigma, to end TB stigma. Another way of overcoming stigma through storytelling is to empower others. You inspire more people to share their stories. One of the ways of reducing TB, HIV stigma, it's not ended, but it's reduced, is that many people living with HIV started sharing their stories. They started talking about their lives and having people know that it could be your brother, it could be your sister, it could be somebody you know that is living with HIV, and hence significantly reducing stigma. And then the other way is challenging stereotypes. You have to correct people when they have harmful gender assumptions. There are some people who say, oh, if if a woman has TB, then they could be having HIV, or they were kissing people who are sick, and that is how they got TB. They are unfaithful, you know. And so we need to dismantle some of those assumptions in order to reduce stigma. And then finally, one of the drivers of stigma is always myths and misconception. There's a lot of myths and misconceptions around TB transmission and treatment. And if we work towards dismantling these ones, then we are able to address stigma. So our stories are really, really important, again, in terms of overcoming stigma. So when we speak openly about TB, we chip away at the stigma that silences too many women. So our stories have impact. It is never in vain to tell your story. We have had instances where our stories have influenced decision makers. Personal stories, lived experience, they make statistics meaningful to the policymakers. They demonstrate real gaps in the system. Survivor stories have also helped to build gender-responsive programs, or to shape gender-responsive programs when they highlight the challenges they faced and the need for childcare during treatment, for example, or flexible clinic hours to be able to take care of their family and also go to the hospital. So such stories, when shared, the policymakers listen, and they're able to design the policies in a way that are responsive to the person. And then the other one is that our stories also inform research priorities. Women's experiences can shift research focus towards pregnancy, safe treatment, and gender-specific side effects. And I'll say a bit about this. I remember in one of the meetings we were having, and a woman stood up and said, when I had TB, I had MDR TB, and I just had my baby, and I was taking very strong medication. I wasn't sure if the effect or the strength of medication was in my breast milk. So I kept breastfeeding my child, but I didn't know if I was passing any of the strong medicine to the child, or if the TB bacteria was also present in the breast. So I was actually very, very depressed, because I wasn't sure I was passing MDR to my child, in as much as I was on other preventive measures, but I still felt worried. So such stories have actually led to a current research that is being done on pregnant and breastfeeding women around the impact of TB treatment. So We will end with a call to action, like I told you. In every storytelling, you must end with a call to action. So our call to action will be, we can all tell our stories. Don't shy away from telling your story if it's part of your advocacy tool. So many of us are asking, so where, how, when do I begin? Begin small, start small. Start journaling your experience or sharing with your trusted friends, or even recording it on your phone. So your story gains strength with each telling. I sometimes visit TikTok, and there are moments when I would look at someone telling their story, but they only had 5 friends or sometimes 2 people in their live storytelling session. And I would wonder, don't they feel, what is it called? But you could see that the stories were not very interesting. But with time, they got more confidence in telling the stories. And nowadays you go and find that they have 3,000 followers or 16,000 followers. So it's always important to just start small. And then also find support. Connect with TB survivor networks for mentorship and guidance. Like I told you before, we have TB women, we have TB people, we have Stop TB Partnership, who are not a survivor network, but are very supportive to survivor networks. So you don't have to navigate this alone. Reach out and say, hey, I want to tell my story. Where do I begin? What's up? And we can have a discussion and support you on how to tell your story. So you can also now choose one platform to share your story, because your voice could be the one that changes policy forever. Over. Thank you very much. So I will take questions. If you have any questions, just share your questions, or raise your hand, or write it on chat.
Maureen, can I say something?
Yes, Steve.
Oh, nimengoja uniita. Oh, I was waiting for you to call me. I've noticed that we have friends from all over the region. Thank you very much, Maureen, and this is very powerful. And we really appreciate that the way you have made the movement of TB women all over the world, and ensuring that the voice of women. So mine is just to encourage all of us that don't be fearful, like you are saying that, oh, I have 5 followers or I have 10 followers. You start from there. And the more you start from the fewer followers, that is how you expand your network. Some people whom you see that are having more than 200 followers and listening to their stories, they did not start with 200. So don't feel like, oh, my story, if I share, I'm only sharing to my facility. Some people, when they share to their facility, they are saying, oh, it's a staff of 10 people. That is an impact, because it's not about your story, but it's about the impact of what you are sharing. So don't be scared and don't shy away. Any story has something and has an impact, and it reaches people out there. And just to commit that we as the network of TB Champion, we are very willing to support those women in Kenya that are willing to share their stories. We can amplify them using our pages, or also using the pages of colleagues like Lean On Me, to ensure that those stories are highlighted. Like recently, due to the stop work order, when New York Times were highlighting stories, we engaged TB champions that are women in the rural areas. And those stories have made an impact, because people are calling and saying, you guys are doing great work. We would like to work together with you. So mine is just an encouragement to all colleagues that are on the call. Don't shy away from sharing your story. However little it is, we have people that are willing to amplify it, and we have people that are willing to assist you package it. Maureen has been supporting more people to package their stories. Come with it the way it is, as raw as it is. People are available. Maureen is available. We have communication with volunteers at the network. You also lean on me that are willing to help you just shape that story into a story. So that's my encouragement to all of you, and kudos. I know this call was for women, but we came in to support our women. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Actually, you're one of our greatest supporters at TB Women. And at TB Women, we also believe in male engagement, so you are always welcome. And for those in Kenya, Stephen is the head of network of TB champions and also the network of TB survivors in Kenya, the national network. So please reach out if you need support with telling your story or you need any other support in terms of advocacy. So after asking that, I want to ask if there's anyone here who can share with us the experience of storytelling. I told you that there are some moments when you tell your story and you think you're in the right direction and the story goes south, or you tell your story and you get much more impact than you thought you'd ever get. So sometimes it goes positively, sometimes it also goes negatively. Who can offer to share with us how or when they shared their story and how it turned out? Anybody
Maureen, I
willing?
can see hands. I can see hands from Maud Isala.
Oh, Maud, please.
Hello, hi everyone. Yes, my name is Maud Aisala from Zimbabwe. Thank you very much for the presentation, Maureen. While storytelling is good, I think it depends on where you are telling your story. Let's look at the African perspective. When you want to tell your story in your own community, that's when stigma rises. People also judge you because you know TB is mainly associated with HIV. And when you talk of HIV, people don't want to be associated with that. So storytelling, yes, can be good to um, to others, so that maybe they can be aware. You also close the information gap in your community. So it depends on where you are telling your story. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maud. And that is very critical. You must know your audience. And even when you know your audience, that is when you're able to package the story really nicely. And now that we have known that sometimes some of the myths are there, people think that when you have TB, you have HIV, then in the moment of telling your story, you can tell them, well, this is just TB that I have and it is curable. Naomi, Naomi Wanjiro.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good greetings from Nyandarua County. I'm happy to be part of this conversation that is taking place now. I want to say that storytelling is what even encourages the community. First, look at the community where you are living. As for me, I'm a healthcare worker and I work in a TB clinic. In fact, before I start a client on anti-TBs, I share my story so that I can be able to work with this client to the last day that he will finish or complete his medication. I show my scars and I encourage everyone that it is not about sharing and shouting to others, because sometimes our voices are not heard from far, but in your community, what impact are you doing? So I have shared my story with my clients. They know that I went through, and it is very difficult because they say, you as a healthcare worker, you got TB, and then you are still serving us. It also encourages them, knowing that at least we have one of us that is serving us, and she went through the TB disease. I've also shared my story with my county. They know about Naomi TB. So anything they want to do about TB, they will invite you. In fact, as much as we feel that we are little in the community, our impact is felt. I am also a TB champion countrywide, and fortunately, I've also shared my story in the global forum. And at times, those visitors those guests in the forum are like, "What you mean you went through that and you still managed to go back and work in TB clinic?" That is very good. Can we get people like you that they understand the client, what is going through? They have the empathy of serving the clients. And I am happy to report that it is very hard for me to get an interrupter. Why? Because we walk with them this journey. And mostly when you are a woman, you carry the burden of the family. So I keep telling them, look at me, I am a woman, I'm a healthcare worker, and I went through this. It is through holding each other's hand, it is through sharing our stories that we can have an impact in our community. And remember, when we have the impact in our community, it can be felt even in our country, and globally, we will reach what we are doing currently to end TB. Thank you so much, and I'm out.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Like you can just relate even when she's talking here. And we've heard how storytelling has helped her to share, to leverage her lived experience and ensure people are not interrupting treatment. It has helped in shaping policy. It has helped in supporting other people who are not just patients from outside, but healthcare providers, to know that they are vulnerable and they are able to share their pain points with their clients to be able to get better outcomes of treatment. And it has also encouraged the community, knowing that even as people who have survived TB, there's something we can give back to the community. Naomi, is that an old hand or a new one?
A new
Before we
one, please.
Before,
Sorry for this. I also want to appreciate you, Maureen, because you remember when we were doing the storytelling, you really worked with us and encouraged us to share our story, and you told us how to package our story, both when you were doing it virtually, and we have also met with you, and you encouraged me so much. I am sorry I had forgotten about appreciating you, but I'm so grateful for what you've done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Naomi. Much appreciated. And thank you for what you're doing to elevate the voices of TB survivors. Ida?
Okay. Thank you, Maureen, for giving me the floor. I'm Ida Savadogo. I'm the coordinator of the Francophone Africa TB Women Movement, and I'm based in Burkina Faso, West Africa. This is a really interesting exchange we are having, and I would like to thank Maureen for this great presentation and for inviting us in this exchanges. We have many women coming from Francophone Africa that are participating in this call. Unfortunately, because of language, we are very limited, but I think that we will organize this kind of webinar for Francophone Africa for them also to see how they can share their story, because I think it's very important for the advocacy. We want to do storytelling, and also, as you say, according to the audience, we need to see how to do this storytelling. So I would like, Maureen, maybe it has been said in some previous exchanges? How can we share the story? Where can we share the story? Or is it possible just to have, for instance, your Twitter account, your Facebook account, and tell your story? Or do we need to plan it and to see, to show the audience and so on? Maybe this can help also to see at which moment we shall do the storytelling, because we are very new in this platform, so we would like to have this information. Thank you.
Maureen, if you are talking, you are on
Okay.
mute, Maureen.
Okay, so thank you so much, Ida, for that. And we have shared the different places you can share your story. You can share it in a meeting. You can share it in a policy development space. You can share it in social media, Twitter, X, TikTok. And also, I've resent the link that Fumeza shared. Fumeza has a link, My TB Story, and that is another place where you can share your story. And because it's a big link, it is a wide link. If we share our stories in that way, then we are consolidating our different TB stories that can be used for advocacy. And maybe Fumeza, you're able to maybe speak. Yeah, Stephen has also shared it. So if you're able to talk about it a bit, we can hear about it. So and then you also asked if we can do another session for Francophone Africa. Yes, we will do another session for Francophone Africa, and then we will organize with my communications team to see if we can get simultaneous translation in subsequent calls that we are having with TB women. So Steve, can you tell a bit about that link where people can share their stories? Or Fumeza? Okay, I hope people have seen the link. It's on chat. Please find time and share about it, Steve.
No, I was saying there was a hand up and it has gone down. I'm wondering, that champion wanted to say something.
You are the champion, come back. Yeah, who can also share an experience? And thank you very much from our sisters from Francophone Africa who are here. Apologies, we did not put the translation button. Next time we will make sure to do so, but we will also organize such a forum for the power of storytelling in French soon. And then Anglophone sisters can join, and Brother Steve can join the Francophone forum as well.
Hands have been up now, Albertina and Richard. So
we begin with Albertina.
Thank you so much, Maureen. My apologies, I'm having flu, so I might not be fluent in speaking. But okay, for me, I've always shared my story of having TB. I've had TB twice, and in most cases, I shared with TB champions to encourage them that you can TB is curable. You can live with TB, and then also I share when I'm doing my advocacy, especially in the communities where there is a lot of stigma associated with TB. And when you share, it also makes the community aware of what they should do and what they should not do. Because in most cases, after sharing my story, when you go back maybe after some time to the community, the champions will tell you that now that you've been here, it's different from what it was before. There was a lot of stigma. Now people, they seem to understand what to do and not to do. And then also with traditional leaders, I always share with them and talk with them so that they ensure that the environment is conducive for people that have TB.
Thank you so much, Albertina. Albertina, you're sharing and you're amazing. I have known Albertina for a while now, and I've really been inspired by her. And so you can see how storytelling inspires each other. You inspire your peer, as well as you inspire decision makers as well. Richard? Richard?
Thank you so much, Maureen. I'm Richard Opiata. I come from Kisumu in Kenya. I'm a TB champion, and I will just wish to share just a little bit my experience in terms of sharing my story with other clients. First, sharing my story with other clients has really helped me a lot in terms of easy initiations on those who are on TB, and you find that there are some clients who are still experiencing self-stigma, and through sharing a story, my story has made majority of them to at least accept, and they are able to go to the facility and even be enrolled, be tested without fear. So sharing a story is very important. It's a way of encouraging a client. A client feels that he or she is not alone, because some of them still have that negative attitude, hearing negative attitudes from other communities. Others still don't agree that TB exists among us. But sharing a story encourage most of them, and they feel relieved that they are not alone in this journey. So sharing a story has made me make more clients to be enrolled. And again, sharing a story also depends with the areas where you want to share your story. There are some area, like I can remember last time there's a function somewhere, and you find that the moment I shared my story in that platform, there are so many people who are now giving me even names, but it was a privilege to me because at least they knew what I was doing at the community level. Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much for the story of courage, Richard. Teresia?
Thank you very much, Maureen. My name is Teresia Mumbua from Kenya. Yeah, I've never been infected by TB, but I was affected in one way because I lost 2 of my family members from TB, that is in 2020 and 2022. And that's how I developed the interest on TB. What I can say in telling stories, there are some things that we have to consider, like the cultural background of the people you are talking to. You have also to be keen on the language you are using. Also, sometimes when you are speaking to people in the village areas, you have to be to use a language that they can be able to understand and also resonate with them. Also ages, you have to look at the generation you are talking to. Because like when you are talking to the youth, there's a way you are going to package the story than when you are talking to some elder people. So what I can say, it is good to share our stories, even for us, like me who have lost relatives. It's also good for us to share the stories and to share what we went through in the time that we are affected by that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Teresia. So one thing that has come out very clear here is knowing your audience, being categorical about your messaging, and also being sensitive to people's understanding. Steve Anguva.
Thank you, Maureen. I want to put somebody on spot, and I'm putting Rabia from Tanzania. She usually shares powerful stories at the global level. I'm putting her on spot.
She's the head of TB Women Tanzania.
Yes, we must hear from TB Women Tanzania. Rabia?
Hello, thank you so much, Steve, and thank you so much, Maureen, for this wonderful session on how we can feature our stories. So working with the women's, especially into the fields of tuberculosis and HIV, I have observed that when sharing a story regarding that the TB, but also HIV, brings in, can make more women, to join into the TB work. Like, for example, speaking of the issue of stigma, like the way Maureen started, that she had visited a village, there when she saw a woman who described the story that not accessing, like maybe not accessing the health services due to, they need to ask for the husbands, to offer or to allow her to go to the hospitals. That is similarly, it's something which I've observed in Tanzania. So I can share something that I recruited some community health workers. They were 10. So during the facilitation, when I was training them on how they should do to support the community outreach using the door-to-door approaches, one of the community health worker shared that, so for me, I've been hearing about TB, but, due to that relationship of TB and HIV, I always fear to go and do test, but because I've received these kind of trainings, I do, which that I'll be in position now to go and diagnose, seek more further investigation about TB. So with the support of the training which we offered, we helped this lady to go for TB diagnosis, but again, she was found to be TB positive. So the problem came in that how will she inform the husband? It was really a tiresome thing because the husband, the lady feared to inform him, and she came back to me that, Rabia, you know what, we have to go back to my home so that we can help out to talk with the man, because the man will think that also I have AIDS and not TB. So it was really something very tiresome because we met the guy. The guy was very angry. He could not listen to us. So throughout a week, so I kept on visiting him, asking him, you know what, so we can go, you can also go and check, we can even check the HIV status. She has no HIV, but rather this is TB, of which even myself, I once had TB, but because I used the medication, I got cured. So through that powerful story and sharing, but also I came in with a dot nurse who was also an ex-TB who also shared. So the guy now accepted it to also go and and you do the TB diagnosis, where for him he was found to have TB. So it took him sometimes, to accept the situation that for me, if I don't have it, but my lady or my wife has it, but sharing utensils or eating together, so they had to separate rooms. Until then, now, the lady was cured, and for him, when the results came in, confirmed that the lady didn't have any other form of TB. That's where now he went back to her, but they were staying at the same house. So he accepted her, but just by letting her stay at the household, but also accepting to go for TB testing. But again, accepting the food which she could cook, he could not eat. So despite that, we were there to keep on supporting them. So good enough with that, through that support, he managed to test, but also he never divorced him, even though now, things like eating food, so he could not agree about that. So we see, maybe if it was in these stories, but if it was in our work, maybe I going with the dot nurse who was also the ex-TB, also using my experiences, then probably this guy wouldn't maybe accepted it to go and test for TB, but also wouldn't let this lady to stay at the home, maybe chasing or divorcing, something like that. So sharing stories really can bring more people closer to the services, but also can help out to support them. Even though this guy didn't change that way, but with our support, we tried to help this lady and to ensure that their marriage did not break. And until now, they are living happily, although during the support, the guy did not really provide that support which was really required, like what we anticipated. So thank you so much, Maureen, for this wonderful session. But I know stories are really powerful because more people can join in, let's say, into the program without any fear, because they know also if Labia had TB and she's fat, I'm a little bit fat for those of us who knows me, and she's surviving. So I can also try it without any fear. So thank you so much, Maureen, and thank you so much, Steve, for bringing me into this discussion. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rabia. Thank you for the story. Now you can see the power of storytelling. So I want to play a video. I chose to play this video because Lean On Me has rights to it. It is part of the video we did, or stories we told. It's a HIV story. And so I didn't do a TB story because I hadn't got permission from the people who have done our TB videos. But this one, there's already permission to use it. And Lean On Me is one part of the organizations that developed it. But the idea of playing this video is I want you to check on the elements of storytelling in this video. And the elements we talked about are authenticity, structure, sensory language, and emotional connection. Then we can have a discussion at the end of it. I hope the sound will come. I've never played.
Nikamwambia nimetoa wapi? Akaniambia unakuanga na ukimwi na ndio sababu huwezi ukazaa.
Ndio akaniuliza, sasa wewe uko na virusi, uko mjamzito, uoni nini tutasaidia, nini tutaacha?
Kuna njia yote naweza fanyiwa ili nifunguliwe.
Steve.
Yes, more.
What are you saying?
I'm saying you can zoom. You can when the video is playing, you click on the zoom so that it is on full screen. At the bottom of the video, you will get where you can zoom it, and then it will be on the full screen. Thank
you. Let me see what it's saying. Okay, let me try that.
Paeta hata mbivumbi.
Nikamwambia nimetoa wapi? Akaniambia unakuanga na ukimwi na ndio sababu huwezi ukazaa.
Ndio akaniuliza, sasa wewe uko na virusi, uko mjamzito, uoni nini tutasaidia, nini tutaacha?
Kuna njia yote naweza fanyiwa ili nifunguliwe?
Having children is an important part of claiming a full and fulfilling life. But for many women like us, this is a pipe dream. Many of us have been sterilized without our consent because we are HIV positive. My name is Johnson Sulve Mbwaga. I am 28 years old. I was sterilized without informed consent at the age of 25 at Kakamega Provincial Hospital in Western Kenya. When the nurse came in, she told me women of my status should not give birth. She bought some papers. She forced me to sign. I signed them. I was in pain. My husband, when he came to the hospital, he looked at the papers. And since that day, he told me to pack my things and go. Many women are sterilized by doctors and nurses in public hospitals, often in collusion with their spouses and family members. Some never get to know until years later. Rhoda is a businesswoman in Kibera, the largest informal settlement in Kenya. Rhoda was sterilized in 1993 at the age of 19 and got to know about this more than a decade later.
Ile health center ilikuwa karibu, tulikuwa tunaishi Meru. Tukatumwa district hospital, tukatumwa Tigania hospital. Sasa wakati nilipelekwa huko, nikaambiwa ni lazima nioshwe. Si kujua kuoshwa ni nini. Sasa mimi si kuelewa ilifikia wapi mpaka nikafanyiwa TL. Lakini niliweza kukaa na daktari mmoja na nikaongea na yeye na nikamwambia chenye nilipitia na kwa hiyo hospitali yao. Na akaniambia uamuzi mwenye alitoa ni huyo bwanangu, si madaktari wawezi wakatoa uamuzi. Inaonekana ni alitoa uamuzi ndio nifanyiwe nini, nifanyiwe hivyo. Sasa hiyo kitu huwa inaniumiza tu sana.
29-year-old Angela is visually impaired. Angela was sterilized without a consent at Makindo District Hospital at a young age of 25.
Waliniambia walifanya TL kwa sababu waliona mimi kama mlemavu na nina virusi, ni kama sikupata hii mimba nikiwa ninataka, ni kama mtu alinidanganya ile hali ya rape, akaninajizi nikapata ujauzito, na wakaona kuna risk nyingi. Ya kwanza niko blind, ya pili nina virusi, ya tatu nikakuja nikapata mimba.
A number of women are denied medical services unless they consent to sterilization. Others are induced through incentives such as milk for their children or free vouchers for free cesarean delivery services. Lilian Atieno is such a woman.
Sasa akaniambia, sasa Lilian, wewe ni msichana mdogo. So tunataka tukusaidie huyu mwenye umebeba asipate virusi. Na ukishatoa huyu, hatutaki uzae mtoto mwingine. Kwa sababu ukiendelea na kuzaa, maisha yako yatadhoofika na utakufa haraka. Na alafu akaniuliza, ungependa kufa haraka wacha watoto wako? Pia mimi nikasema hapana, singependa kukufanyia. Sasa akaniambia, kama upendi kukufa, ukishazaa huyu, ni vizuri ufanye nini? Usizae mtoto mwingine. Akaniambia, sasa kuna njia moja tu, ndio usizae kabisa. Kuna ile kufunga kuzaa kabisa ambaye ni permanent, utaizaa mtoto tena. Akaniambia, Lilian, ushapanga pesa juu ya kwenda operation ndio uende ubuku mapema? Akaniambia, nayo pande wangu pesa sina, wazangu pia alikuwa anafanya kazi ya jua kali, pia hana pesa. Akaniambia, tafuta 300, kuna voucher za kuzaa. Voucher inauzwa shilingi 200, hiyo ni ya kuzaa. Alafu kuna kadi ya kufunga kuzaa ya kupanga uzazi ni shilingi 100. Nikaenda nikatafuta 300, nikakuja akaniunganisha na CHW, nikapewa hizo voucher. Na akaniambia upande yake, akaniambia, kama ningekuwa mimi wewe Lilian, mtoto wangu singenyonye. Nikamuza, sister, nisiponyonyesha na sina uwezo nitapata wapi maziwa? Akaniambia, wewe sikujali, nikujalishe. Ukiamua utanyonyesha, kuna kitu kingi kwa kupata maziwa. Maziwa nilipewa kwa miezi 6 kama nimeshazaa. Walinipea kwa miezi 6, alafu mtoto alifika miezi 6 wakanitoa kwa maziwa. Mtoto wako sawa, sikujonyesha, alipimwa, ingawa mtoto alitokea kwa negative. Nilifurahia, lakini sasa siwezi pata mwingine.
The impacts of forced sterilization are numerous.
Na miaka 3 bila kwenda kupata mandate period yangu.
Mimi bwanangu ameoa mtu hata mwenye ako na wajukuu. Anawanga now and then. Mimi niko na watoto karibu 18. Anaoa huyu na watoto 5, anaoa huyu na watoto 6, ana hivyo. Hiyo ndio maisha yenye anaishi. Na ukimuuliza nakwambia wewe uzai.
Sasa maisha yangu imekuwa ni shida. Hii nyumba naweza kuta tumekaa hivi na kuna anaongelesha mwingine. Mtu akisema, baba sina kalamu, sina pesa, ambia mama yako, baba sina nini. Sasa maisha imekuwa tu ni shida. Hatuelewani. Sasa mali naweza pata mtoto hakuna. Nikiamua kuenda pia venye naenda kuishi pia hakuna. Mimi mwenyewe sina kazi, hata sijasoma ile naweza enda kutafuta kazi kwa kampuni. Sasa maisha imekuwa ni shida kwangu.
We shall be able to file cases before the Constitutional Court to seek declarations that what happened in these health facilities amounts to a human rights violation. We'll also be seeking for declarations and directions by the court to have the government officials who are doing these issues to be stopped and circulars to be issued by the ministers of health concerned with this matter to confirm that it is not a government policy to forcefully sterilize women who are living with HIV. We shall also be seeking for damages for the human rights violations of these women because of the psychological suffering they have faced as human beings.
Forced and coerced sterilization of women living with HIV seems to be happening. What are we talking about? It's 99.5% considered a permanent method of family planning. This is not an emergency procedure. This is what I call an elective procedure. Women should be free and well informed to choose when to have their babies, whom to have their babies with, when to actually deliver. Yes? So she has rights on her reproductive career.
Mtu akipatikana kama amefanyia mtu afutwe kazi, ndio awe nini na afungwe pia.
As a country, we've come so far in HIV management. People are now accessing antiretroviral therapy. Prevention of mother-to-child transmission interventions are available in the country. And so, HIV-positive women are able to give birth to HIV-negative children. So, women living with HIV have rights to form families and rights to give birth. We should let them enjoy that right and be able to experience the freedom that is experienced by all women in the country. I'm calling upon NASCOP to give information to women and also to Division of Reproductive Health to educate women living with HIV on various family planning options that they have, to educate the health workers so that they are able to respect the rights of women living with HIV.
Our practices should be ethical, they should strive to have quality, they should strive to have professionalism, and they should be just.
Mtoto singuo, utaomba mtu mama. Masikini sina hakie, nakosa hakie, ninalia sana mama. Masikini sina hakie, masikini sina hakie, nakosa hakie, ninalia sana mama. Singuo, nitaomba mtu, mtoto singuo, nitaomba mtu mama.
Nimekataa kustop share. Nimekataa kustop share. So that was a storytelling moment. Women who are living with HIV, who are sterilized without their consent, were sharing their story. Number one, they were sharing the story to create awareness to other women living with HIV that they have their rights. Number two, they were seeking justice. And as you've heard from the gentleman called Alan Maleche, that the matter was taken to court. And we can tell that that advocacy yielded. It may have taken long in court, but the women found justice. The women who went to court, they found justice, and that act has stopped. There is no longer forced and coerced sterilization of women living with HIV in Kenya. So you can see the power of storytelling. So we wanted to discuss the elements of storytelling. Number one, authenticity. What part of the video showed authenticity? You can raise your hand or put in chat.
Hi, Maureen.
Hi, Tabeleng.
Oh, thank you so much. My name is Ntabeleng Tsekale. I'm the Her Voice Ambassador for Lesotho. The part of the story that showed so much authenticity is when the women could relate clearly the time when the sterilization happened, the name of the hospitals, and the emotions that went together with the whole situation that they went through, so that they can even cry. I think some of the powerful thing about authenticity is that you can feel it from the heart of a person when they're telling their story, and the way their story links, that it was on this day where and my husband, I'm living in pain because my husband is marrying so many wives because I can't have children. I think that's the part of the story that I felt so much authenticity in. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's a really good illustration of authenticity. Any other person who saw another form of authenticity, like we have seen, the women remembered the dates, they remembered the hospital where this happened, and the video was actually summarized into 10 minutes, but they even had the cards where I mean, from the hospital to show evidence that they were actually in those hospitals. And of course, remembering the detailed ordeal that they went through makes the story very, very authentic. Of course, the structure. What do you think about how they packaged their story? Yes, Ida.
Yes, I think that how they package this story, their stories was so interesting that we are feeling, we are in the how to say it in English, we feel like we are them, and we put ourselves at their place. And this make us being very, very, very sad, because we think that if we were at their place, what shall we do? We will also be so painful, so sad with this situation. And I was thinking, what can we do now as they all have been sterilized? This is very painful. It's not something that we can come back and restore their fertility, unfortunately. Because actually, women can give birth to children HIV negative. Why at this moment the nurses can just wait for these women to be able to give birth to negative children? And I think we need to push this film to see how we can stop this kind of thing. If we shall convoke those who sterilize them into justice and so on, to avoid this kind of story to come back. This is my thought. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ida. So Steve, your hand was up.
Yeah, thank you very much. The other fact is that when one woman heard the story from another one, she was able to relate and to say that, oh, so there are other people who have faced this. So it was not like people from one side talking, or people saying that this has been done to those people. It was like they come and also they are open to share their own stories and their own ordeal on what they've had, what they've had, the pains they have had, and relating the pain with the pain of other people from other counties. Because if you share a story and then it is like, it's only you people, then it becomes different. But the relationship whereby they are coming from different counties, different regions. We've seen different regions, not only at a central point, but from different regions, and they are able to speak out their stories without fear, and they're able to open up and also engage, wanting to see justice. Also, they cry and they relate. I can also see the component of they are able to come in and not drop, but move with the case to ensure that there is justice, so that nobody else goes through the ordeal. That is also a touching part of the story. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so like you saw, and they managed to put us glued to the video until the end, isn't it? Because they had a very clear beginning when that lady was introducing the video, and then in the middle we saw them how they are now trying to cope with life, the challenges they are facing. And then at the end, you saw the gynecologist saying that this is wrong, it should stop. There was a call to action. Did you see that? So the way the story went, from how we say you introduce it, have a clear beginning, then in the middle, make it compelling so that you can still catch your audience, and have a powerful conclusion where you're having also a call to action, where the gynecologist, who was a servant of the government by then, but she was very courageous because she's a woman, and she talked against this practice. We had approached many of them, even the ones from those facilities, and none of them wanted to talk about sterilization for fear of getting in bad books with the government. But she was still a servant of the government, and she actually made those remarks, which kind of got her into trouble, but she's a very strong woman. And then let's talk about emotional connection in that video. Were you able to feel the journey through specific details of those women? Can I hear some of the the experiences of how you felt emotionally connected to those women. Nancy.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi, my name is Nancy Opio. Maureen, thanks for the beautiful presentation. The women there really handled their emotions so very well that we were in their shoes. Like, I was almost tearing off while hearing their stories because it was a painful incident. And there was something that was a bit of catchy for me there, that a number of them were not well informed or maybe had lower levels of education. And this is really a replica of what happens in our villages, that a number of women who are not properly knowledgeable are really suffering, and mostly in silence because they don't have power. And so as advocates, it's our responsibility to bring the light into their, to brighten their light, to give them word, to advocate, to make them knowledgeable, so that they also have some power within themselves that they can either refuse on such, if they are being, the word is discriminated on. I remember such incidences happened when I was also in my giving birth season. And I remember when I was having my second pregnancy, there was such a discussion that was between me and the doctor that I was seeing. So I'm seeing, like, maybe because I had my alternative thinking, my just one way of thinking, the doctor did not pursue the same, but I could already see the engagement and where we were headed to. So it is a circumstance that really is easy with the vulnerable populations. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Nancy. Nancy, you brought out very well their vulnerability. And you saw how none of them said that their husbands were offered sterilization. It was only the women. And you could see most of them were in very vulnerable situations. Tabele?
Thank you so much, Maureen. The emotions that I felt from the videos, I went from being angry or to being sad and to being so angry, and I could feel something boiling like from my stomach. Because like the colleague has said, I could see how poverty can put a women into so much vulnerable situations, that because of milk, a person can accrue to sterilization, and how much lack of knowledge also can make a person to agree to long time things or life problems or dramas, such as agreeing to sterilization. And I was very also angry at how failed our health systems are, such that people we trust to be guiding us towards proper health choices, they are the ones that are instilling wrong choices on us, maybe at the sense of maybe protecting us, or because I don't know how a nurse could force a woman to be sterilized. If maybe I don't even understand, but I came from a point where I was sad, then angry. I wanted to shout like, no, this has to stop. Are women really experiencing this kind of things? Because now I can realize that there are so many women, even in our countries, who are going through these things, but they are quiet because they are afraid to even talk. Because I think it's even humiliating to say things like you are sterilized because you're HIV positive, and that because you couldn't take care of your kids. Yes, thank you so much. I'm getting even emotional.
Thank you so much. It's quite emotional. And to see that And it's not only these ones, these are the ones that had the courage to come to the TV, I mean, to have their stories up there. But so many of them, they used to dangle the issue of milk for the baby, and women would get sterilized. And you saw even the other one saying she's not going to school. So in as much as the husband is frustrating her and torturing her mentally, she has to stay. So I saw someone else's hand, Kevin.
Thank you so much, Maureen. This is a very powerful session. And I'm very happy to hear the story from the video. But when I was going through it, I felt emotionally connected. I felt injustice, like hearing that a mother has been stripped of the right to make the choices about her body, especially when that particular time they're already dealing with the stigma. I felt sadness and I felt that the injustice was being done to their body. But as they continued, I felt courage because now I felt that they have stood tall and they have decided to speak out and pour out their hearts. And this encouraged me, and I think it also encouraged other mothers as well. And then when Alan came, I felt now the justice is now, they're now going to get justice for the same. And therefore there could be change. And that was my feeling. Thank you, over.
Thank you, thank you. That's quite a good illustration of the mixed emotions. And of course, when the video was going towards the end with the gynecologist and the lawyer talking about justice and also that this is a human rights violation, you could see that there's going to be hope. And even as Ida said that, tubal ligation is so permanent. You're doing to someone something that they cannot reverse in future. And in as much as they won court cases, they did not get back their wombs. So those are some of the gross injustices that sometimes women have to go through. I saw Natasha's hand is up, it's gone, it's disappeared. So I'll go to sensory language. You saw during the video, you could see sights, you could hear sounds, and there were feelings to bring the story alive. And we've talked about some of the feelings. So that is also very critical in putting your audiences attached. Who can tell us a bit about the sensory language, the experience with the sensory language? How many saw when the women were singing? For those, oh, Natasha, I'll let you speak first.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Maureen. My name is Natasha Seketa, her Voice Fund Ambassador for Zambia. So, like you already had mentioned, how many of us saw when the women were singing? Yes, I did see that. And I think for me, the sensory language actually helps the story be more relatable because all these things were shot in the community. These are the different things that we see and interact with in the community. So all the sounds and everything else that was happening, even in the different backgrounds of the videos, were helping me to actually connect to the stories because I come from a community. So it was also helping me to connect with the story in itself. So it was such a great way of being able to tell a story. It was a very powerful way of being able to tell a story. Thank you.
Thank you, Natasha. You brought it really well. So yeah, like the song, for those who do not understand Swahili, the song says that a child is not like a piece of cloth, or a child is not like a dress, or maybe call it clothing that you can ask, you can borrow from someone. So that song was sung to, it was a derogatory song that was sung to kind of people who do not have children, telling them that, like it was someone hitting another person with a song, telling them that a child is not a cloth you can borrow from someone. And the person was also crying that I don't have mine, and I am not able to enjoy what people who have children enjoy. So it is really, the song is also really bringing the feelings of the story alive. And we saw other women who had been sterilized in the group also sharing in the song and in the pain. So yeah, so that is the power of storytelling. In as much as the women did not get their wombs back, the women felt hard with the judges and they won the case and they were compensated financially. But also, they stopped the practice. Because even after we started documenting these women, the practice was still going on. But when we reached the court and the case looked like it was coming to be successful, nowadays it's taken a while before we heard of any forced or coerced sterilization of women living with HIV in Kenya. So if anyone has a question or a comment, we are coming to the end of this session. Please raise your hand. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining. Thank you very much. This was such an interesting, interactive session. Oh, Naomi, over to you.
Thank you so much, Maureen, for the meeting. I have seen the video and I've really felt, and it has encouraged me to continue sharing my story, that it will help someone else. And I'm very grateful for the work that you are doing for the women, because as women, we are the backbone of our generations. So we are very grateful and keep up the good work, Maureen.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I've seen on chat the comments you have made. Of importance is someone asking for the registration link. I think for you to join this, there was a link you filled with your name and email address. That was the registration link. And then, so I really want to appreciate all of you for joining. Thank you for making it such an interesting, interactive session. So let us go out there, tell our stories, and change the world. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, Maureen.
Bye, Maureen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Maureen, this year you did not ask for a photo with people with their cups. What
Thank
happened?
you.
The next one. The next one.
Or this year is unique.
We will remember to ask for people to raise their cups. Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay.